Peace, my family. Next question. Why did Judas and the soldiers fall to their feet in fear when they saw him in John 18:6? Question. And this is our Master Teacher, Dr. Malachi York's answer. The answer is simple. He didn't look like himself. He looked different. He had transformed himself, fully confident that he wouldn't be crucified. He asked the band of men who they were looking for in John 18:4. Twice he asked, and twice he replied, I am he. Yet they still didn't comprehend him. Instead, they turned to Judas, who had picked up on what was happening and had became hysterical. Suddenly, a scuffle broke out and referred to Matthew 26:51-52. During the scuffle, Judas was transformed into physically resemble Jesus. In the confusion, Judas fled to the gardener's shed, and the soldiers apprehended Judas, thinking that they had Jesus. Judas entered the shed, thinking he would find Jesus there. By this time, Jesus had already been taken to the second heaven by the Elohim and Anakim. The disciples were puzzled because Judas, now transformed, was inquiring about Jesus, whom he looked like. Jesus, as I have already shown you, escaped while in the Garden of Galilee, and he never made it to the cross. The disciples, Peter and John, followed Judas, thought to be Jesus, to the home of Annas, the former high priest of Sanhedrin Council. At this point, they still were unaware of what had taken place. Judas was transformed to look like Jesus, yet he did not realize it. Now that we know it wasn't Jesus who had been arrested by the soldiers, and that Judas was transformed to look like Jesus, we know that though a crucifixion took place, it wasn't Jesus. Instead, what Judas wished for Jesus fell upon himself. As the result of transformation of Jesus, Judas was crucified. Luke 9:29, and it reads, And as he prayed, the fashion of his countenance was altered, and his raiment was white and glistening. This verse consists of two different statements. Don't let your Christian preachers tell you that he made himself turn glistening white. Why was it that you can't believe that Jesus had the power to transform himself? It tells you right in the scriptures that his countenance was altered. Now, when you look in an English dictionary of the word countenance, is defined as aspect, appearance, facial expression, especially facial expression, the face of facial features, a look of expression of apparent encouragement, support, or approval in general. Now for the fools who say his countenance means only his facial expression changed, why didn't his disciples recognize him? Question. What are you saying? Question. Are you saying if someone you knew intimately suddenly changed his facial expression, you wouldn't recognize him? Question. Does this make sense to you? Question. Well, it's the same thing you're saying when you say his countenance was altered, meaning facial expression only. The Greek word used in Matthew 17:2 is prosoborn, meaning face. The point I'm getting at is Jesus had the power to change his appearance. He had the power to make himself look like other than himself in front of people. This is what the scriptures say. Again, the same word used in Matthew 17:2. And he was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. There is no way you can avoid the facts. Jesus' appearance changed. I know it might be hard to accept the facts after you've been lied to all of your lives, but I call it as I see it. And the scriptures clearly state the facts. These are not my words, but the words of the scriptures. Don't try to tell me that Jesus didn't have the power to do this either, because he was indulged with the Holy Soul. He was capable of having many mystical things, and he had the ability to break down molecules and rearrange them into a different state. Just go back and read about the ridiculous transformations he performed during the struggle between the disciples of Jesus and the guards and the Pharisees in the Garden of Gethsemane. And it became evident to Judas that someone thought that he was Jesus. This is why he fled to the gardener's shed. Judas realized on the cross that he was playing the role of Jesus. He had no choice but to act the part because he was transformed to look like Jesus. And everyone knew without a doubt that he was Jesus, regardless of his refuting who he was. Prior to his trial, the soldiers had beaten Judas so bad that it transfigured his face. And this is another reason why he was unrecognizable. Only those that knew about the transfiguration in the garden knew that he was Judas. Alright? So that right there was the end of his answer. So, something to really sit with yourself. Ask the Most High. Alright? On that note, peace, family. Until next time.